Let's return now to our story on child sex abuse within the Catholic Church. Calls for a royal commission into sexual abuse and its alleged cover-up within the Catholic Church are gaining momentum. And joining me to discuss the possibility of a royal commission is Detective Chief Inspector Peter Fox. He's a 30-year veteran of the New South Wales Police Force. He's led numerous investigations into sexual abuse and told the ABC's Late Line last week that he's seen the worst society can dredge up. Peter Fox, thank you for joining us on the program. So much of what we're talking about today can be traced back to your decision last week to speak out about sexual abuse in the church. You've been called a whistleblower, a hero. How does that sit with you, and what do you think about the fact that our nation's leaders are talking about this for the first time in a very long time?
Well, I dare say that I'll probably be called a few other names in some quarters as well, but all that doesn't really concern me. It's not about me, it's not about Peter Fox, it's about what we can put in place and do for so many of these victims. And if me speaking out has caused a number of our leaders to start to focus on this issue that's been burning and simmering away behind the scenes for so long, that's fantastic.
Now, the Premier Barry O'Farrell in New South Wales called an inquiry as soon as your allegations were aired. Very specific inquiry into your specific issues that you raised. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, to be honest, I'm a little bit saddened by it. That wasn't the purpose, and that wasn't what I asked for when I did the interview with Late Line last week. What we were asking for is a full royal commission into whether he decides upon it being just the Catholic Church or all religions doesn't concern me, but to narrow down the limits and confining it to geographically just around Newcastle, he's really missed the point of what I was trying to get across. Yeah, okay, those issues are some aspects that should be examined in the overall picture, but they shouldn't be the main focus themselves, because they're not. It's only a very, very small part of the picture.
How symptomatic do you think are your perceptions of what's gone on in the Hunter region of what's taking place more widely in Australia?
Oh, I've got no doubt that it's got tentacles everywhere. I want to share with the inquiry on day one information that I have that will link what's happening here in the Hunter to other areas in the state directly. And I've got no doubt that Mr O'Farrell, if he leaves it as it is, will realise what a mistake it's been from day one, because it'll certainly be expanded if this commission has the power to do so. Not only will it be expanded in New South Wales, but people like Dennis McAlinden, who was abusing children here in the Hunter for decades, was sent by the church to Perth. I've spoken to 2 victims of McAlinden in Perth. After that, he travelled all over the place. Equally so, Vincent Ryan, one of the worst paedophile priests that this country has seen, was sent from the Hunter down to Melbourne for a year. So these state boundaries aren't going to stop these sorts of predators from operating. Moving them around doesn't stop it. And if we're just going to focus on New South Wales, or if we're just going to focus on a very small part around Newcastle and the Hunter, it's not really going to uncover the major problem. That's where the focus should really be.
What is the difference between a royal commission and the inquiries that are taking place in Victoria and New South Wales? Talk us through why a federal royal commission is necessary and different from what is already taking place.
Well, these priests that have been offending in the past, and I know I'm come across, but my experience sadly has been with regard to the Catholic Church. I have spoken to police in the last week that have relayed information to me about other denominations as well. By an inquiry in Victoria operating, if we're about to run this one here in New South Wales, okay, if it starts to expand, do we then run another state one? And do we then see another inquiry kicking off in Queensland or Western Australia next year? Sadly, that is very disjointed, and all those should be married up. I think really what I'd like to see, and I don't want to take the pressure off Mr O'Farrell, and I don't apologise for saying that. At the end of the day, the reason I'm asking for a Royal Commission in New South Wales is the way our governments are set up. The state government is responsible directly for the state education system. It's responsible for the laws and the police in that state. It's responsible for the Department of Community Services and DOCS looking after kids. So therefore it has the responsibility of running a Royal Commission to protect those interests in this state. but so does every other state. Now, if they can all get their heads together, and surely this should be above politics, we're talking about the welfare of kids here and the protection of our children. Some of the politicians' children, my grandchildren. It shouldn't be politics anywhere in this argument. What a wonderful thing if Julia Gillard can sit down with them all, because it would probably need forums set up in each and every state and different cities. And if it's money that comes down on, let's negotiate that. Okay, different state governments can pool in so many resources for an overall Royal Commission, because if we're going to do it, let's get it right. Let's fix it, and let's really do something so we can put laws and systems in place and work with the churches in a positive way to make sure the terrible history and the scandals of the past really become the past, and we actually start to get things working.
How confident are you, though, that the political will is there to confront that great structure of the Catholic Church, or churches more widely? You've alleged that there have been cover-ups within the church and that they're very powerful at influencing what takes place and keeping these things hidden. How confident are you in the structure, the political structure, to be able to tackle this?
Well, there's been a lot of disappointments over the last few days. I've got to say probably the greatest disappointment I've had is the comments by Joe Hockey. How out of touch someone can be with what is actually going on. I was dismayed at it, and I'd like to sit down and talk to him about some of the victims I've spoken to. He was just so out of touch. I hope it's not political. This should be above politics. Whether it's money, whether it's other interests that are being protected, if politicians aren't getting behind this and saying, listen, it's about time we actually started to have a decent look at this. This isn't something that's just crept out of the ground yesterday. This has been simmering now for over a decade. We've seen children that are destroyed for life. We've seen families torn apart by the suicide of loved ones. These crimes never go away. The fact is, and it's so well documented, they never get over it. It might get a little bit better, but that damage is there for the rest of their lives, and it damages their families. And when we're talking about crimes that actually have that sort of impact, surely our political leaders that we have voted in owe it to the people of this state, to the children of this state, to do something a lot more than just a small inquiry focusing on the police handling of a one matter in the Newcastle area. The problem is far greater than that, and it's that's just such a real disappointment. If that's the best we can get for our political leaders, it's a very sad reflection.
Right, Peter Fox, you're a hero to many. Thanks for talking to us this afternoon.
No, thank you very much for highlighting what's going on.